Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and this is a debate that I'm sure many people have talked about but have not seen on video before. And, just to say that I'm sorry that the video of Piper and Jericho is a bit old. Sorry about that. But that was the best video I could think of that really talks about even now, because we still don't know what's going on with Jericho. Piper is, at this moment, better, but we don't know if Jericho's coming back. If he comes back, like I said, he'll surpass Piper only in a few types of things, but he'll never fully surpass the icon known as Roddy Piper. Now this video is about, if you can see up here, ladies and gentlemen, what do we got? We got something that hasn't been talked about. Who's better, Andre the Giant or the Big Show? Yes, baby, we finally coming to this. Finally coming to a head. We're finally going to come to who is better. Now, know that in the WWE or in wrestling history, there have not been that many tall, big men. Not just tall, big men. You have Big John Studd. He was known as one of the biggest men, and my humble opinion, the second greatest big man in the Golden Age. Andre the Giant's first. But this is not about Big John Studd. Big John Studd, I'm going to put him against one of these men eventually. And he has his rights. But right now we're just talking about Andre the Giant. We have maybe about four or five men in history that have been so large, and not only large in physical size, but also large in life. So let's see who is the most large in life here. Now, when we're talking about Andre the Giant and Paul White, if I believe his name's properly pronounced, the Big Show, one thing we may say is lopsided is going to be title reigns. Because if you're going to be honest, who has the most title reigns? It's going to be the Big Show. I'm not even going to cover how many title reigns he's done from WCW and WWE, even coming ECW, which is covered under WWE and WWF. I mean, when it comes to Andre the Giant, he has some stuff he did in New Japan. He won at least twice NWA Championship and Tri-State Championship, and that was with Dusty Rhodes. He probably won something else, I just don't know. I know in New Japan, and that was just before he died. He went to New Japan after 1990, and he worked out there. He became the International Wrestling Grand Slam champion and the MSG champion, or MSG leader winner, I believe. I could be pronouncing it wrong. Sorry. But honestly, Big Show is just going to win when it comes to title reigns. He's had more than, honestly, you're talking about the Tag Team Championships, World and WWE. And that's in WWE. He's got 8 of them. 5 and 3. WCW did 2. When it came to the World Championship, he's won it roughly, I'd say 6 times. 3 in WCW, and 5 times. 2 in WCW, 3 in WWE, and am I right about that? I want to make sure I'm not messing up here, ladies and gentlemen. My mistake. It's not 5. It's 4 World Championships, not 5. ECW won 1. I mean, he won the Hardcore Championship 3 times. Dude, I remember Mick Foley was doing that for a while, along with Hardcore Holly. So he won that. He just has a ton of titles. So let's not worry about that. First, we're going to talk about, let's see about their heights. Right now, Big Show is about 7 foot tall, maybe 7 foot 1. Andre the Giant was 7 foot 5, baby. If this is the Big Show right now, this would be Andre the Giant. He'd be looking right down. You'd be seeing him head and face like this. That's how he'd be going. He'd be going like this to the man, not looking down or like this. He'd be going, yeah, yeah. And the Andre the Giant's going to get, yeah, shrimp. That is how it would be. Andre would be taller than him, but by 5 inches. But still, 5 inches is 5 inches. Next, we're going to talk about their health. Now, I know that's something you don't usually do in a wrestling debate video, but this is important. You see, both men had a very similar problem. I believe it's their pituitary gland. I could be wrong. It's the one that's at the base of the neck that helps with growth. Now, both of them were getting growth, basically growth hormones pumped into their bodies constantly, which made them very big men. And unfortunately for Andre the Giant, he died at 46. It was because his body just couldn't take it anymore, getting so much pumped in growth hormones, and his body was falling apart. Big Show, on the other hand, by around 1997-98, I believe, he had the surgery to turn off that pituitary gland so he won't grow anymore. That's the reason why he's alive right now at the age of 40 and not having to retire due to the fact his body was reaching the point it was going to destroy itself. Because by the time Andre the Giant was almost nearing the end of his life, his weight had jumped at least 500 and above. And that wasn't just fat. That was because his body was changing so much. His bones kept growing. His organs kept growing. It was so much for him. That's what really, it was too much for his body, and it killed him. So health-wise, you honestly can say that the Big Show managed to get his health under control. And unfortunately for Andre the Giant, he died, and I'm really so sorry about that. He was 46 when he died. So when it comes to ages, they're very similar in age. Big Show is 40. As I said, Andre the Giant was 46. They're very close to ages. So it's at least when Andre died, because Andre, if he had lived, he was born in 1946. He would be in his nearing 60s right now. He wouldn't be young. But the thing is that at the times right now when they were still active and competitive, before Andre the Giant died, he was 45, and Big Show is 40 right now. So they're very similar in age. Not too close, but they're close. Now, when it comes to everything else, I'm going to break this down into the 5 tools you need to be a good wrestler. Physique, you're going to have in-ring work, which is storytelling. You're going to have mic work. You're going to have charisma. You're going to have in-ring presence. Let's do the presence in the ring. When they're in the ring, everyone knows they're giants. That is pretty much going to be dead even. I know someone's going to say, oh, Andre the Giant was more menacing. Oh, the Big Show was more menacing. Look, ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest. These are two damn big-ass men. It makes no difference. One is only 5 inches taller than the other. They're both almost basically the same width. They almost have the same weight. When it comes down to it, they're the same. Presence in the ring is obviously the same. In-ring work, now that's debatable because of the problems of their pituitary glands, when it comes around the same age as they are, they kept growing. So they were going to have some physical problems in the ring. So both of them at that time weren't that great in the ring. By the time Big Show had his pituitary gland turned off, it was a little different. So he could get himself in better shape. His body wasn't being put under so much stress with the pituitary gland. So when it comes to in-ring work, it's debatable to say who was better, because when Andre was very young, he was damn good as a wrestler. There are many people that said when they saw like the older I think he was in NWA, and he was in the National Wrestling Alliance. That's the only way he could have got the belts with Dusty Rhodes. But honestly, both of them could do good work. What the heck, spiked my leg? And pretty much, problem right here is that I'm seeing it by the point of health. And the point of health is that counting on when if they were going by both young ages, they both were good in the ring. By the time they're reaching into their 30s, that's when they were really having problems with their pituitary gland. So in-ring work is debatable. I would say they were dead even with the in-ring work. I know that Big Show, many people would say, no, the Big Show was not even close to an Andre. Or, come on, Andre, if you see him at the later stages, especially by WrestleMania 4 or 5 or 3, he wasn't really moving around that well in the ring. But that's because of their health. So I'm going to say in-ring work, by health, they were pretty much the same. I could say that because the Big Show corrected his pituitary gland, his work got better. Because he got himself in better shape, he wasn't under such stress. So, health-wise, like I said, Big Show would come out on top. But in-ring work when they were young is pretty much even. Charisma. When it comes to charisma, no one, no one comes close to the giant with Bobby the Brain Heenan. Bobby the Brain really put Andre over to the point of him being way larger than life than he was, because he spoke for him. So in that sense, Bobby the Brain was his charisma. Not saying that Andre the Giant didn't have charisma of his own. He was known as a gentle giant, or he was known as one monster giant heel, as a monster giant. But most of his charisma was brought out by Bobby the Brain Heenan. Very rarely did you ever see Andre talk. Not because he couldn't speak English, and he did have a problem with English, but he didn't really need to talk. Bobby did it for him. So when it comes to charisma, I would say Andre has it. Not saying that the Big Show didn't have any charisma and that he couldn't present himself as one hell of a nasty face or one hell of a good heel. He could. But he didn't have a Bobby the Brain Heenan to help bring out that charisma, to help bring it for him. And that brings us to the next part, promos, which also covers under charisma. Promo segments where there was talking, Bobby did most of the talking for Andre. He did. You could see a lot of the work that Bobby did for him before he broke off, and just before I think Andre left the WWF. Very rarely did Andre talk. He very rarely did. When it comes to the Big Show, he did have a couple of mouthpieces. I know Jimmy Hart worked with him at least one point, but honestly, he did a lot of his own work. He did a lot of talking for himself. So who did more promo segments and talking? That was the Big Show. Doesn't mean it was better. It just means he did his own talking. Now, when it comes to physiques, we don't even need to go there. They're both giants. They're both big. They're dead even. When it comes to the mic skills, we already said that pretty much Big Show was the one who talked more than Andre the Giant. When it came to, that's it. I don't need to do anymore. It's pretty much split. Now, prominently featured. Who is more prominently featured? The Big Show or Andre the Giant? Because it's the golden age of wrestling, because between the 70s to the late 80s into the early 90s, just before the switchover, I would say Andre the Giant was more prominently shown. He was more featured. Just like in my Flair and Hogan. Who was more shown? Because these men, Hogan and Ric Flair, were exact opposites of each other. They did different ring works. They were reversed of each other. So it was the promotion that got them over. The one in Andre the Giant, the promotion was WWF. So he was over that way. There is no way to deny it. When it comes to the Big Show, he started in WCW. WCW, yeah, at one point during the Monday Night Wars, was very prominently featuring him. But it's not the same as when it went with WrestleMania. It's not. So you can't really compare them. Now, who was more seen in events? This is where things get interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Event-wise, the one who was seen more and participated more would be the Big Show. Let's be honest. When it came to Andre the Giant, he did a lot of events. Like when it comes to WrestleMania, when it came to nearing the point where the Royal Rumble came into being, when it came to the Survivor Series, I believe he did a Survivor Series before he left. I could be wrong. So I'm sorry if I'm wrong. But Andre the Giant wasn't in a whole bunch of events, particularly that his health was deteriorating. When it comes to the Big Show, he had been through WCW events like Bash to the Beach. When it came to, the WCW War and a whole bunch of other events. The Great American Bash. When it came to WWF, the WWE, he was seen in Unforgiven. He was seen in Hell in a Cell. He was seen at, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania. It makes no difference. He's been seen in so many events. He more than obviously beats Andre the Giant. Andre's here. He's here because he was in a lot more events. He was. No matter if you thought that Andre did better at events, it's not the point. We're talking about who's been in numerous events, and that's the Big Show. Now, when it comes to who worked with them, when it came to basically Andre the Giant, you have a huge people. You got Hogan, you have the Ultimate Warrior, you got Big John Studd, you got Bobby the Brain Heenan, you got Jake the Snake Roberts, you got some of the greatest wrestlers that are known from the Golden Age, and that might fall into into the Attitude Era, almost. When it comes to the Big Show, he did deal with several other people. He dealt with many of the current people we know. Y2J. He dealt with Diesel. He dealt with Scott Hall. He dealt with Lex Luger. He's now the current people we're talking about right now. Undertaker, Kane, Y2J, Mankind. There were points where he even worked with Triple H. I'm not saying he worked a very long program, short time. He even worked with, dealing with Vince McMahon. He dealt with current people like The Miz. He dealt with Cody Rhodes. Think about it for a minute. Who has dealt with the better people? It's going to be Andre the Giant. Who has dealt with, the most influential people? Andre the Giant. Who's dealt with the new talent and a lot of the somewhat older talent? It's going to be Big Show. Somewhat older compared to the older ones, the most influential compared to the new ones. Honestly, that's what we got. We got kind of a split. Now, who is the better person? Because it seems like I'm dragging this and I don't want to drag it. Okay, when it comes down to it, is this. Who is the better giant when it comes to Andre and Big Show? Honestly, it comes down to one thing, and I just mentioned the man's name already. To be known as the greatest there is, there's only one way you can get that way, and you have to work with the greatest. And I know the Big Show at one point or another did work with Hulk Hogan. He worked in WCW with Hulk Hogan. He dealt with him, no problem. But the one that got the most with Hulk Hogan was Andre the Giant in WrestleMania 3. And this is the thing that many people, I believe, doesn't understand. We're not talking about the match quality. We're not talking about how many more matches these two work together. We're not talking about how many more WrestleManias they both work together or appeared together. We're talking about the moment that caused one person to be remembered to the point that the match itself was completely meaningless. It makes no difference if Hulk Hogan did the worst match with Andre the Giant or Andre the Giant did the worst match with Hulk Hogan. I do remember some of it. The match wasn't that great, but it's not the point. The point is that everyone remembers, including the Big Show himself. Paul White himself said it, that I always loved Andre the Giant, and it pissed me off that Hulk Hogan body slammed him at WrestleMania 3. He himself said it on his own DVD set. This is the thing. Like I said with Flair and Hogan, the one that's the most prominently featured is the one that's going to win out. No matter how much good wrestling or bad wrestling these guys give. And I'm talking about Flair and Hogan. The one that was shown the most is Hulk Hogan. For Andre and Big Show, the one who did the most work in this sense of the moment that no one forgets is going to be Hogan. And that's with the Big Show, not with the Big Show, with Andre the Giant. I almost said Big Show, I'm sorry. Big Show had his moment with Hogan in WCW. That was nearing the finishing point of his wrestling. I mean, he still wrestles after 2000 and stuff, somewhat, but let's be honest. Hogan and Andre, no one's ever forgotten it. Even people who've never even seen it has heard it. Have you heard anything really big with the Big Show, other than maybe with Brock Lesnar when the ring collapsed in 2003? You're going to compare the collapsing of the ring with Big Show and Brock Lesnar to the body slam between Hogan and Andre. Forget it. This is that. It hits the floor and it breaks the floor. It don't work. It's not going to happen. You got Andre and Hulk Hogan, who does the moment that no one forgets. Even if the match was not great, it made no difference. That's what people remember. Hogan was the most prominently featured person in the history of the company and the history of the business. The second one is debatable, but I feel like the second one that was pretty much prominently featured, if it wasn't Piper, because of what was going on in WrestleMania 1 and WrestleMania 2 and into 3, was Andre the Giant. I believe Andre the Giant was the most prominently featured person, particularly when it reached into WrestleMania 3. So who do I think won? It's Andre. But does that mean that Andre wins on all points? No. Andre does not have the same amount of belts. He don't. Big Show's got that. Andre does not have the amount of events that he's gone in, the pay-per-view events. He does not have that. Big Show has it. Big Show at this moment was able to cut his own promos. He managed to, because he had the surgery, got his body in better shape so he can do better in-ring work. He gave off pretty much the same presence, but because of his in-ring work, he got more over either as a face or as we know it, better as a heel most of the time. So Andre doesn't win on all points, but the majority, the most important points, he does win. So I hope you enjoyed the Zane view. Subscribe and comment. I'm sorry I couldn't give you a new Piper and Jericho, but really it's the same. Piper's ahead until we know what happens with Jericho. So you all have a good night, and you take care.